The ring must be destroyed.
Then what are we waiting for?
Okay, I wanted to challenge myself if you're wondering why I would waste $50 on a game that already seemingly has the universal consensus of wow is bad. And since I was looking for a challenge, Lord did I get one, yeesh. You know, besides the fact that the Lord of the Rings Gollum took 16 hours of my life to beat, and yes, I did manage to get through it, and in a weird, sadistic sort of way, I'm kinda glad I did. And yeah, sure, I could sit here for 20 minutes and completely rip apart how the story doesn't make any sense, how the gameplay either doesn't work or is completely based on waiting around doing nothing, how the frames plummet every few minutes, or how the lore and Elvish language is locked behind a fucking paywall. What in the feathery fuck is this? But I'm not gonna do that. As fun as it would be. As far as I'm concerned, enough people already have, and there's no point in beating a dead orc, so to speak. So instead, I'm gonna talk about a sneaking suspicion I have about the game as a whole, and a missed opportunity so spectacular in fashion, they could have actually had a pretty great game on their hands. So let's do this. Also, fair warning, this is probably going to be pretty short because the longer I go on, the more I'm going to start shitting on the game, and I'm trying to actively not do that. So, yeah, it's going to be pretty short. Anyway. So, to start, the Lord of the Rings Gollum doesn't really make any sense until you look at it one pretty specific way. I know that sounds weird, but let me explain. The entire time I was playing through the game, there was one thing I couldn't quite understand. Why is Gollum doing all of this? In the first 3 chapters, Gollum proved to the player, and most of the Black Pits for that matter, that he can go undetected and sneak throughout the prison as he pleases. So why wouldn't he just escape? I kept thinking every time I went on another stealth or climb mission that this was it and Gollum was making a break for it, but no. He was on a mission from the frail old man to steal tower plans of a bridge? Why do we need those? I can scale the entire tower. Apparently you're telling me the bridge is my biggest issue. Wait, why am I befriending other prisoners? Gollum only cares about the ring, and even if they are a means to the end, again, why do I need them? I can get out myself. Why am I showing a new prisoner how to survive, and why the hell haven't I escaped years later at this point? Okay, why the hell am I breeding birds and working for the Candleman? He already knows about Baggins. Why the hell am I involved in this weird father-daughter conflict he has going on? Okay, I get we need Mel to take down the fog, but why is Gollum so attached to her? The ring is the only thing Gollum would ever care about, so worrying about some elf lady that's already essentially shown us how to get out is completely out of character. Holy shit, the game wasn't supposed to be about Gollum, was it? And I'm telling you, that's how it snapped into place for me. The thing I couldn't understand the entire playthrough wasn't why we were doing all this, it was why was Gollum the one doing it? My sneaking suspicion, and this is all personal speculation, mind you, so take it with a grain of salt, is that this game was supposed to be about someone else imprisoned in Barad-dûr, and have it be more of a telltale story about escaping it. The telltale story style suspicion kinda more coming from the sheer amount of cutscenes, exposition, and total lack of gameplay, but we'll get there. And when I started thinking about it like that, everything else seemed to make way more sense. Not that it turned into an amazing story, mind you, it's still kinda shit even in that sense. But falling in line and obeying to survive makes more sense if it isn't about Gollum and just some random hobbit. Establishing allies and forming a group makes more sense as they would need numbers to get out. They wouldn't be able to do it by themselves. Even breeding the birds to impress the Candleman and stay in his good graces would have fit better had it been someone other than Gollum. Through his little father-daughter conflict that you're weirdly involved in, it could have been used to gather more information about the prison or a means to escape if you could manipulate one against the other. And then when it comes to the second part with the elves story, they don't tend to be the most understanding of other races. They kind of sit on their pedestal anyway, so they may have treated a random hobbit or human fresh out of Mordor with enough suspicion to actually lock them up and interrogate them on why they were there and how the hell they got out. Which in that sense, with the elf storyline, the attachment to Mel would make a little bit more sense. It's still kind of weird, don't get me wrong, but genuinely wanting to help her find her husband or whoever the hell he was supposed to be, even though she did fully leave you behind, would fit more of a character that isn't Gollum. All I know, and and I can entirely be wrong, I'm fully prepared for that, is when I took Gollum out of the story, things made more sense, and part of me truly believes this game was never intended to be about him. Maybe it was supposed to be about some other random hobbit who was mistakenly taken by the Nazgul or something, but it was changed to Gollum at the last physical second for name recognition because, you know, Lord of the Rings and Billy Bob McBiggleboggins, and his escape from Mordor just doesn't have a nice ring to it. And there are other things that I could say to back that up, one of them mainly being, first of all, for the voice actor who played Gollum in the game, I really don't hold anything against him because trying to follow Andy Serkis is just not gonna happen. He is the voice of Gollum, and he always will be the voice of Gollum, but there are times in the story where it feels like the voice actor for the game literally maybe got one take to get some of this stuff down, because the performance hits all kinds of wrong in some places, and it just overall feels rushed. That might come down to bad direction or an 11th hour switch, and they had no time to do any additional takes or anything of the matter to make it feel a little more authentic. Sorry, honestly, I kind of feel bad for the voice actor in this game because I can tell he tried to do his best, but again, following Andy Serkis is just not gonna happen. Okay, the gameplay for Gollum just sucked, just straight up, it just sucked. The platforming was inconsistent, no two jumps ever felt like they went the same distance, Gollum just wouldn't grab ledges or just bounce off walls for whatever goddamn reason, and the other portion of the gameplay, the stealth, essentially amounted to crouch walking so much so my freaking hand still hurts from holding control so much. On top of that, the enemy AI came down to luck a lot. They would either see you for no reason, stand on top of you and do nothing, or phase through walls to grab you. All in all, the gameplay just kinda stunk. With maybe the exception of the Shelob chase, that was actually kind of a challenge and kind of a cool sequence to witness, but yeah, other than that, did kinda stink. But there was one thing the game did that, yeah, wow, this could have actually been kinda awesome. So, every so often, you make a decision and it will trigger an argument with Gollum or Smeagol depending on which route you're choosing, in which you need to convince them one way or the other. And given Gollum and Smeagol's dynamic, essentially two beings existing in the same mind, this was a really cool mechanic to experience. Is it fully fleshed out? God no, not even close. No matter who won the argument, it seemed like the outcome was the same, so that sucks. But the bones are there. Had this argument mechanic been the decision-making structure for the game as a whole rather than just an occasional event, it would have added so much more immersion to the character of Gollum himself. Hell, make every major path or choice an all-out argument between them. Granted, to do this, the game would have to have leaned more heavier into the Telltale style and gut the other platforming and stealth quite a bit. Honestly, they wouldn't have lost much on that front because, well, these arguments, if I'm being entirely honest, was the only time I was fully paying attention to the game, because this is the version of Gollum I know. He is wildly self-conflicted within his own mind. The Gollum side is brutal and evil and will do anything and throttle anyone to get the ring back. Meanwhile, Smeagol is timid and naive and just wants to be left alone. This dynamic of the character makes it so special, and there is so much you could have done with these argument sequences. It was such a spectacular missed opportunity, in my opinion. Maybe you have too many choices as Smeagol. It makes Gollum go away for a little bit because he's mad and pouting, and you can no longer attack or sneak around as efficiently. Or maybe if you lean too much into Gollum, you become more erratic and aggressive to everyone around you, making stealth not really an option because we just needs to throttle Orcsuses. Precious as we need to. Look, I'm not making excuses for the game. It's entirely rushed, poorly optimized, and overall just a bad experience, but this is the way I think, and I can't really stand being 100% negative all the time, so I like to try to give things the benefit of the doubt where I see them, or it can at least try to make some kind of a connection. It isn't. Anyway. So, is the Lord of the Rings Gollum worth $49.99? No, not in the slightest. Hell, it's been on sale for $5 and I'd still argue that's too much. Look, I can say whatever I want about what could have potentially improved the game, but at the end of the day, this was the end result they chose to release, and there are things that are unforgivable on a $50 game. If you base your game around platforming and it only works 60% of the time, that's not excusable. If you base a game around stealth and your enemy AI ignores the mechanics or spawns in random locations or forces the player to either wait around around or just get lucky, that's not excusable. If your cutscenes don't work, if your audio is desynced, if your pixels don't load, if you can't progress an area without save quitting over and over and hoping that one of these times the frickin' NPC will just do what he was supposed to do, or if you lock the lore in Elvish language behind a fucking paywall, yet the elves still speak Elvish, just fuck you. Sorry, that last one aggravates the living hell out of me. And the point is, at the end of the day, the game is not worth the money or the time it is asking a player to commit to it, because I promise you, you're not going to enjoy it. I'm not even gonna bother with the price per hour because I don't really think I enjoyed any of it. There's something about being in the game for 30 seconds and having your frames crash 9 times that really just immediately kills the game for you. Especially when I spent 50 bucks on it. Well, that's about it from me. Sorry if this was a lot shorter than usual, but I wanted to try and challenge myself with reviewing a game without just completely shitting on it for 20 minutes. But wow, was that harder than I thought. Good practice. So if you enjoyed, maybe like the video if you feel like it, if it's not too much trouble. Or if you also played the game, leave a comment. Do you think this game was actually supposed to be about Gollum? I'm curious if I'm crazy or not. Anyway, see ya.